Establishing energy cooperatives is a rather complicated process. Legal formalities are just one important element. There's also the need to figure out how producers and consumers will settle accounts, contracts with grid operators and energy providers, and what is most important, how cooperative members relate to one another.
Nie wystarczy tylko założyć spółdzielnię, bo jest to z tego całego procesu najłatwiejszy.
It's not enough just to register a cooperative. That's the easiest part in the whole process. The bigger challenge is how to reconcile the interests of those participating, who often come from quite different worlds. That is to say, local government, business, and individuals. In all of this, a challenge is how to convince local government how to de facto share power in the cooperative, rather than having a 100% influence over it. It's probably only natural in piloting energy communities that so many questions arise, and there are so many difficult questions for which the ministry does not always have an answer. Dealing with some of these questions will require formal and legal changes in the law, and that in Poland, especially in these current times, is no quick process. Piloting energy cooperatives and generating lots of questions is very important for providing guidance to legislators on how to adapt regulations so that more cooperatives can be established more quickly. In the current energy situation, I think bringing people together around joint energy management questions is one of the best ideas there is, especially in rural areas.
To jest, wydaje się, jeden z najlepszych pomysłów, szczególnie na terenach wiejskich.
Po pierwsze, muszę mieć potrzebę spółdzielni, czyli to, co produkuję.
Firstly, I need to recognize that I need to be part of an energy cooperative. That means that I produce not enough energy or that I produce too much energy. I need to know what my needs are and how I can meet those needs. Over the next 5 years, I think there's going to be a lot of progress in this area. There needs to be a lot of conversation about energy cooperatives with farmers, with local administration, with businesses and with individuals. Lots of talking. This is the starting point for being able to assess in 5 years' time whether energy cooperatives have actually improved self-sufficiency in rural areas.
Z sukcesem powiedzieć za 5 lat spółdzielnie energetyczne zmieniły, poprawiły stan samowystarczalności energetycznej mieszkańców wsi.
To, co powoduje, żeby...
What is the ingredient of success for energy initiatives which require a willingness of people to work together? It's certainly not just creating an institution, an energy cooperative with statutes and which is registered in the National Court Register. No, that's not the end of it. Before all of that is established, there needs to be a collaborative spirit of cooperation between municipalities and between those involved. There has to be a feeling of common benefit and a willingness to cooperate. When we compare ourselves to Western nations who have not lived through our difficult history, we can only realize how difficult this task is. It will probably take us longer to learn how to cooperate, to recognize that there is something called the common good or the public good, which requires collaboration. Hopefully energy cooperatives will be an important contributor to building civil society and a grassroots energy movement.
I tego oddolnego ruchu energetycznego.
It was only a few years ago that the term prosumer was introduced into our everyday life. This is the idea of a producer with a micro installation of up to 50 kilowatts who is also a consumer. A renewable installation, of course. Most of the installations were photovoltaics, but to the surprise of everyone, there's now over 1 million prosumers in Poland. Is this a sufficient basis for creating energy cooperatives?
Ci, którzy podchodzą do spółdzielni energetycznych, cały czas sobie wyobrażają, że głównie fotowoltaika i to wystarczy.
Those who are interested in energy cooperatives usually start by imagining photovoltaics and that will be enough. But the simulations we have already completed so far for our pilot municipalities in the Kujawsko-Pomorskie regions show that energy cooperatives set up just on photovoltaics. Let's agree that photovoltaics are a fairly seasonal energy source. What's needed is more stability, more stable forms of energy production, such as hydropower or biogas plants. In rural municipalities, this is all the more desirable because having a biogas plant significantly reduces the need to have a lot of photovoltaic installation capacity. With a mix of energy sources, it's easier to balance production and consumption more efficiently throughout the whole year. Balancing production and consumption is important because the cooperative only recovers 60% of what it transfers to the grid. The important objective is to transfer as little as possible to the grid and to take as little as possible from the grid. As far as the technical aspects of biogas plants, it is not, as some people think, in terms of heat pumps, photovoltaics, that it's possible to install and then forget. Biogas installations require know-how and have to be operated with engineering knowledge. In other words, biogas installations need to be operated by professionals.
Instalacje wykonywane przez profesjonalistów.
When it comes to establishing energy cooperatives, we always seem to be coming back to the same theme of external funding for biogas and other types of renewable energy production sources. Banks are very cautious when it comes to crediting investments of this kind.
Specjalnie dedykowane środki na wsparcie spółdzielni właśnie w tworzeniu tych instalacji konkretnych.
Dedicated funds to supporting energy cooperatives in building up their own energy production installations are most welcome. This will encourage people to get organized around funding for installations or photovoltaic farms or biogas plants and other forms of energy production. Grants mean that you don't have to borrow and pay back over a period of years. This will generate a lot of incentive to form energy cooperatives. But this situation must also be tempered by the fact that the cooperative must be obliged to operate. There cannot be a situation where, for example, the three of us set up a cooperative, get subsidies for installation, and after a year get bored with the cooperative and end up as producers of installations. That would be really unfair. If you can't develop the cooperative, you shouldn't be able to access public money, be it EU money or national money. The objective has to be to strengthen collaboration between producers and consumers. In the Podlasia voivodeship, by creating our own renewable energy production, we can become a really strong leader in this area. We have a lot of space and we have over 1 million residents, so we can really organize ourselves and become much more energy self-sufficient.
Na to, żeby z tymi nowymi instalacjami stać się w miarę samodzielni.
Energy cooperatives are not the most attractive proposition for the big energy operators and distributors, but these are state-owned companies, and this raises the question: to what extent will the energy market be free or regulated going forwards?
Rynek energii jak najbardziej podlega sterowaniu.
The energy market is regulated. We would like it to be much freer. But even if energy cooperatives are a spectacular success, the market will continue to be regulated. And here we come to the basic question of principle: who should be benefiting? When we look at the history of individual photovoltaic prosumerism, some would say that those who participated in the program have received an unfair advantage. They somehow gained. They're better off than everyone else. They received grants and subsidies, but also received the benefit of storing energy on the grid, which everyone pays for. Critics would say, why them and not me? Well, I would say nobody stopped anyone from investing in photovoltaics over the past years. The same can be said about energy cooperatives. Let's wait and see how they will evolve going forwards. I think it's a very important idea for the development of rural areas. The government has made some important announcements and given a green light to energy cooperatives, but this won't be enough to make them happen. There's a mental barrier here, but also probably a financial one. Certainly, high energy prices are an important incentive, but let's remember that renewable energy investments don't come cheap either. It's important then to reduce the risk of energy cooperatives through co-financing and other arrangements. And here we come back to square one. Without co-financing or financing, I think it's difficult to be optimistic about the future.
Bez dofinansowania myślę, że jakiegoś hura optymizmu w tym zakresie nie będzie.